Your breakthrough season started the moment you had to let go of your past. Your breakthrough season started the moment you learned to accept your past. Welcome or welcome back is your favorite mental health specialist, Ty Guidance, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Now, of course, because healing is not a one-size-fits-all and there's no right or wrong way, always take what resonates and leave the rest, as well as grabbing your pen, your paper, and taking notes. A lot of times we want to beat ourselves up over past trials and tribulations. And this doesn't mean that the righteous anger and your frustrations and the pain and the suffering was invalid, was in vain, or that you don't have every right to acknowledge how you feel. But what you have to realize is that the past you is a part of the present you, and your present you is a part of your future you. In order for you to raise your frequency, in order for you to elevate, in order for you to become the person you want to be, in order for you to experience the lifestyle and achieve the goals and live the life that you want, you had to have gone through certain things. You had to have learned certain things, whether they were negative at the time or they were positive, whether they were short-term or long-term, whether it was from yourself, so internally, subconsciously, consciously, psychologically, mentally, and emotionally, or was externally from your family, your friends, your peers, your communities, and anything that's outside of you. You have to realize the breakthrough started the moment you let go of the old behaviors, the moment you let go of old beliefs, the moment you let go of old morals and mindsets and anything that was considered to be familiar. You didn't realize that you were letting it go. You looked at it and you internalized it as punishment. You internalized it as rejection. You internalized it as loss. And I know because I was once you. You see, when we're going through psychological abuse, when we're going through physical abuse, when we're in poverty, when we're being touched on at an early age, when we don't have family and friends and support, when we're being bullied, when we're losing our jobs, when we're not financially stable, when we're just experiencing all these negative things, or even if you're somebody who hasn't gone through the following, you're just experiencing feeling lost and feeling confused, you don't realize that the only reason why you've had to endure those things was to help you realize that what you went through in that moment was necessary in order for you to grow. And it does seem difficult and challenging in the moment because you're used to living a certain type of way. You have to realize that you grew up a certain way. You were installed certain morals, certain beliefs, certain mindsets, certain behaviors, like I said, from school, family, and etc. So when you're used to a certain way of living and you're used to a certain way of thinking, and then all of a sudden people start falling out, people start dying, you lose materials, you lose, like I said, everything that you once knew, you start to panic. You start to get confused. You start to get unsure of yourself. That's when the depression creeps in. That's when the anxiety creeps in. That's when the thoughts of no longer being here creeps in. That's when the resentment and anger creeps in from the people and the places and things outside of you and even yourself. But instead of beating ourselves up, instead of being so hard, in this video, we have to talk about how now, because that old version of you is gone, what to do in the present moment, so therefore you can become your best version of yourself. You can get to that future version of yourself. And the first thing you have to realize is that you had to learn certain lessons. You are exactly where you need to be, and this video is going to find you when you're meant to see it. I set the intention that the right people who are in alignment with this will receive it. Don't force it if it's not. But when you see this, you need to know that you did not suffer and struggle for no reason. That's the first step in order for you to continue to elevation and ascension and continue to experience the fruits of your labor. Before you could see the roses, before you could see the rainbows, before you could see the gold, before you could see whatever it is that you want specifically or that you want to experience, you have to have realized that you had to go through certain things in order for you to learn lessons about yourself, reality, spirituality, religion, or whatever applies to you. You know yourself more than anybody else. And that's another thing you had to learn. You had to learn what you lacked. You also had to learn what you were valuable at. So therefore, in the present moment, moving forward, you can make better choices. Or you could stop making certain choices. So if you grew up in a dysfunctional household, you can now see when people come with you with red flags. You can now set boundaries. You can now not feel guilty about being seen or being heard or taking up space. Maybe you lack confidence. Maybe you weren't able to express yourself. Maybe you weren't shown love and affection. Everything that you went through in your past is not for you to dwell on, but to self-evaluate and to self-reflect and accept that I had to go through these situations in order for me to realize how powerful, how beautiful, how strong, how wise, how kind, all these adjectives that are positive about yourself. If you were not meant to be the best version of yourself, if you were not meant to grow, if you were not meant to be greater, you would still be attached to these people, places, and things. You would still have certain people, places, and things. And I know from experience, in order for you to ascend, we're not supposed to be attached to anything. And I'm gonna be honest with you. You're not meant to be attached to anything, because you are not going to live forever physically. Now, internally, infinity, and to beyond, shout out to Buzz Lightyear. That's a different topic for a different video. But for this video specifically, you have expiration date. Everything in life comes with an expiration date. The seasons change, the weather changed, life is going to change. And that's what you had to realize. The old programming, if you, like I said, weren't meant to be who you were, so if you grew up, like I said, in poverty and you are meant to be financially abundant and stable, you wouldn't have lost those things. You wouldn't have lost your job. You wouldn't have lost maybe your mind. You wouldn't have changed the way you perceive money. If you were someone, let's just say, who comes from wealth, and you used to spend and you used to have a shopping problem, you had to learn how to budget. You had to learn how to go without. You had to learn how to make something out of nothing. You know your situation. If you, like I said, if you come from an environment where it was chaotic and you want to experience love and abundance, you had to learn how to communicate. You had to learn to realize what's for you and what's not. And same thing with the people and the places and things. So the first thing you have to do in order for you to continue to experience your breakthrough season, because it's not a phase. Our breakthrough season is not a phase. That's going to be towards the end of the video, in the next video, but it's not a phase. It's a lifestyle. You're always going to go through stages. There's always going to be a shift. But to keep it cute, you have to realize that what you went through was not in vain. And in order for you to realize this, you have to learn to let go of your past in order for you to be in the present reality. So therefore, you're not suffering, you're not struggling, you don't have PTSD, OCD, anxiety, or any attachments. And when you let all that go mentally, just as much as psychologically, emotionally, physically, financially, you can then be present. You can then now decide what's for you, what's not. You can then now be practical and start making the necessary changes and the necessary steps in order for you to be this person who you want to be, because it's not separate from you, but it's also not on this silver platter sometimes. And like I said, I'm gonna keep it cute because that's gonna be the next topic for the next video. When it comes to bringing things into life, if it does not happen supernaturally, like without your control, you have to show up. That's the second thing. You still have to show up regardless of the trials and tribulations that you went through in order for you to overcome, like I said, this breakthrough season. We're putting it in these quotations, this breakthrough season or this difficult time, in order for you to become the best version of yourself. Because if you stop, you won't be able to move forward. You will feel like your past is happening right now in your current reality in the present moment, and it's not. The only thing that you're holding on to in the present moment is what happened, and it's mentally for a lot of people. This is a mental health channel. I'm a naturopathic physician, your favorite rich auntie, everywhere else on social media. If you know, you know. A lot of people struggle with mental health issues, and this is why we make these videos, not to judge anybody, but to inform and educate, and most importantly, motivate. A lot of it is mental, but in order for you to calm your mind, calm down your nervous system, you have to acknowledge, you have to be able to accept. We talk about grieving all the time. You have to be able to articulate. You have to be able to talk about what has happened to you. You can't suppress it. You have to be vulnerable. You have to grieve. Grieving, like I said, is not a one-size-fits-all. It can take weeks, months, days, years, honestly, depending on how long you've suffered and you didn't have an outlet, or you weren't able to be yourself. The more you had to shrink yourself. As you are realizing that certain people, certain places, yourself is changing and growing, you have to embrace it. That's the third thing. The first thing was acknowledging and accepting that what was once familiar is no longer familiar. The second thing was continuing to show up. The third thing is embracing it. Now, of course, when you embrace something that is unfamiliar, it could be scary. You could feel upset. You could be disappointed, but you can no longer look at yourself as a victim. This is where the strength is going to come in. This is when the resilience comes in. This is where the determination comes in. This is really fight or flight. This is when we're going to see if you're really about it. You see, a lot of people talk. A lot of people yap, and I'm yapping, but if you know, you know. In order for you to live, like I said, this life and make it a reality and not a fantasy and not an illusion, you have to continue to go through this moment. You have to continue now to make certain choices. You have to be accountable. Being accountable is not an attack. Being accountable is not an attack. People that hold you accountable care about you. People who just let you do whatever you want and allow you go into the deep end and there's no guidance, there's no structure, they don't care about you. And a lot of times you're going to have to go through this alone. Yes, you may have friends, you may have families because you know your situation better. You may have me, your favorite mental health specialist. You may have a therapist. You may have a guidance counselor, people that you can find in other than God, ancestors, and universe. Ashe, amen. For those of you who believe, right? Because we don't force any religion, spirituality on here. Take how it resonates. Other than that, you're going to have to go through it alone. And because you're going to have to go through it alone, you can no longer look at yourself as a victim. So if you didn't have the family, if you didn't have the friends, if you didn't have the support, you have to genuinely start taking care of yourself. And that's the reason why, too, you feel like it's so hard for you to let go of your past, because there is some type of insecurity. There is some type of childhood trauma. There is some type of wound, whether it's neglect, abandonment, attachment issues, detachment issues, being hyperly aware, not knowing that you are intuitive, not knowing that you are connected, not feeling seen or heard. There's a deep-rooted issue, and over here, we go to that deep-rooted issue, and then step by step, in chronological order, we figure out what we need to do. We can't just try to act like we're going to heal ourselves in a day, because a lot of times, it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of effort. Like, healing is an exercise. So you have to realize that you have to figure out what's the deep-rooted issue. Why do you feel like, and that's what your homework assignment is going to be, and that's what the challenge is going to be for this video specifically. Why do you feel like you cannot be independent? And what's stopping you? When you can answer that question, and let me know in the comment section, or like I said, we'll talk about it in a second. Why you feel like you can't be independent and what's stopping you from being independent. Then, like I said, we can come up with solutions, practical solutions, because I'm not going to tell you guys to be delusional. I think that is very misleading, okay? If you guys knew what delusional meant, you would not want to be delusional, okay? No shade, or actually all shade, all tea to people who say that. But once you figure out why you feel like you can't be independent and you figure out what's stopping you, like I said, practically we can start making solutions. So therefore you could be present and you can take your time. So therefore you can move forward and sustain and live the life that you want. But it's time for you to completely step forward. You can't be afraid forever. You have to be willing to trust yourself, and that's what it is also too. There's a lack of trust within yourself, or like I said, God, ancestors, universe. You cannot say no weapon formed against me shall prosper, or whatever it is that you believe in, and you don't believe it. You say it because it sounds good, it looks good on paper, but you don't trust it. You don't trust that there are dolphins and other things outside of the world that exist. You have to genuinely believe it. You have to have a sense of knowing, like, until you are 100% confident in yourself, you're constantly going to struggle a lot of times psychologically in your mind about what has happened to you. And until you, like I said, learn to be vocal and vulnerable about it, you're constantly going to live the same memories over and over and over again. And that's why you feel stuck and stagnant, but you're not stuck and stagnant. And I'm going to be honest with you, when you're doing it alone, it requires a lot of grieving. It requires you to journal. It requires you to rest. It requires you to meditate. It requires you to be in isolation. It requires you to be with yourself. It requires you to pray. It requires you to cry. It requires you to release and purge. And there's no timeline, so you don't have to rush. You are exactly where you need to be. You may not be where you want to be, but that's also a confirmation and a reminder that you need to continue to move forward. And you will become so much more lighter once you learn to let it go. And letting go, like I said, you guys, is a skill. It's something that you have to practice. I'm speaking from experience. That's why I also make these videos. I've also worked with so many different kinds of people. Everyone's time is different. So like I said, you don't have to rush, but in order for you to get to where I am, or the people that you admire and appreciate, you do have to let it go completely. Because holding on to it, it's not helping you. And your future self is like, is she going to let it go? Is he going to move forward? Are they going to go ahead and cross the finish line? Because time is going to go by regardless. Life is going to continue to go on regardless. I'm telling you guys from experience. There's a lot that we can talk about, but I'm going to end off the video with that. So remember, your breakthrough season started the moment you learn to accept your past and you let it go and you show up and be the best version of yourself. So if you're new here, your homework assignment is to answer the following 2 questions in the comment section when you see this video. Number 1, why do you feel like you can't be independent? And number 2, what was the other question? Why can't you be independent? Why do you feel like it's so hard for you to be independent? If you were paying attention, this homework assignment is for you, not for me. Go back to the video. I'll put it somewhere here on the screen. Those were the 2 questions I need you to answer and when you see this video. So if you guys have questions, comments, and concerns about this video, let me know in the comment section down below, as well as like this video, comment down below already, subscribe and turn on your post notification bell, follow me on all social media platforms. All the information will be down in my description box below. You guys, I don't know if you guys can see, I have like this moisturizer on and it's like glistening. I just want to make sure it's like penetrated in the skin. Anyways, follow me on all social media platforms until we reach our goal on YouTube. So therefore, I'll be able to go live and answer you guys' questions and concerns in real time. If not, on Instagram or on TikTok, I will be going live answering you guys' questions. And thank you for those of you who have booking your service in a session. The website is also in the description. Let me know on Instagram. You guys DM me what topics that you want to discuss if you're not able to afford a service or a session and you just genuinely need assistance. But with that being said, your breakthrough season is waiting on you, because time is man-made. There is no right time other than right now. And the more you can get to start doing things now, and the more you go through it, and most importantly, you be patient, before you know it, you'll be where you need to be because you did what you needed to do. Okay? Until next time, thanks for watching. Peace in the Middle East. Bye.